Welcome to I May Be Wrong.
I don't know what this world is coming to,
but I don't think so. We're broadcasting from the greater Nashville area, the home of country music, beyond the borders of political correctness and identity politics. Facts and faith are our demarcations. Truth lights our path.
Here's the Barry White of Podcast Radio,
the Venerable Alfonso Ashworth.
Well, welcome to another exciting episode of I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so. Of course, we got an exciting episode. I got a great friend that's going to be coming and joining me in just a few seconds. Look, if it was not for this young man, I don't know if I ever would have started this program. For one, he was my mentor. He got me started out on a radio program that he was doing. Of course, it eventually became Lion Chasers Radio. We did that for a minute, and I really appreciate Lonnie Poindexter. Lonnie's going to come on in just a minute, and we're going to be talking about, of course, some of this nonsense that's going on about hijacking symbols, what's going on in D.C. I want to find out from Lonnie what's happening with the new program that he's a part of called Cure America. Of course, that's with Star Parker, but Lonnie is right there with it. We want to thank, of course, anyone that's in the chat room. If you got something to say, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, please you just do it in Facebook. You can do it on Facebook Live. You can do it on YouTube Live. You can also do it from my website called I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so.com. And while you're there, you can also support us in any way that you see fit. Look, folks, this is real. The fight is real. The nonsense out there, I'm going to show you a couple of video clips in just a minute. If this doesn't if the video that I'm going to show you, if you don't wake up afterwards and see what's really going on with this stuff, look, the statues, all that stuff is really just a smoke screen. It's a diversion. It's something that the liberals have been doing since the dawn of time, especially to the black community. They've been doing it. Look, just go back in history. You don't believe me? You don't have to take my word for it. Just go do your homework. Go look it up for yourself. You'll see it's a pattern. And the pattern is very effective because they do it generation after generation. I'm going to play a quick video clip on my media, and then we'll come back and I'm going to bring my friend on and we're going to dig right into this. But check this out. This is just insane.
White liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leader.
You know, of course, Lonnie video that I want to shoot in just happened a few nights ago, and it's insane. Lonnie, what's up, big guy?
Hey, brother. Excited about being on your show. Excited about all the wonderful work that you're doing. And, man, we got to keep swinging the truth out there because you certainly aren't getting it from me.
I have preached this message. I think that you probably you ain't tired yet, are you? You ain't tired of preaching yet, are you? It wears you down.
Sometimes I get tired, but I've got a regular crew that'll kick me in the keister to tell me to get back up and get back at it. The battle's not over. We know we win the war, but we got to show up for the battles. And so I'm excited about what's happening within podcasting and IP radio and television, because that's how the truth is getting out, because mainstream media is pushing a complete different agenda, and they're walking in lockstep with trying to destroy this nation and doing everything they can to keep, our president, the brash New Yorker, from being reelected. I mean, it's, there's that old saying about everything but the kitchen sink.
Yes.
Well, they're throwing the kitchen sink, the kitchen, they're throwing the whole house in this thing to make sure that this gentleman is not reelected. But I think that we're going to have a favorable outcome come November. But it takes individuals like yourself, like myself, to keep pushing truth and pushing it out there. And I got to tell you, man, we catch a lot of heat. You know where I catch the most heat from? Family members.
Right. Oh, yeah, I know it. I'm not going to call, I'm not going to say who they are, but they definitely don't like, most of them don't like my position.
Yes.
On my politics, for sure. But they can't win the argument, so they just sort of maybe talk about me behind the scene. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, Lonnie.
Yeah. After a while, you get thick skin. And to quote Pastor Ralph Chitums, who was my road dog here in D.C., he said he treats it like oxygen. He said the more heat they throw at him, the more oxygen he gets, and the more it propels him on to continue speaking
That's
truth.
Right.
And that's what we got to do. That's
right. Now, we got those that are chiming in, listening in on Facebook. And, of course, you can go back and listen to this also as well in podcast. Lonnie, let's dig into this, brother. Monuments, symbols, icons, whatever you want to call them, many of them have been hijacked. And most people don't even know the history of some of these monuments that they want to destroy. Like the Emancipation Monument, of course, that your group and your people are trying to preserve. If they don't know about that, of course, I want you to let my audience know how they can get involved with that. But also in my community, they're wanting to remove certain statues and certain historical plaques and things of that nature. In your opinion, as far as living in D.C., you see this on a broader sense more than probably most people do, because Washington, D.C. is the epicenter of protesting. I mean, if you're going to protest, if you're going to be a real protester and a real mover and shaker, someday you have to go to Washington, D.C. Lonnie, how did this become an issue prior to this election? Who's behind this? What's going on?
Well, the agenda is a nefarious agenda by those who have an anti-God.
Yes.
I call them the anti-God crowd. So they morphed politically into, you have the left side of the aisle and the right side of the aisle. And those would like to tell you that there's no difference between the left side and the right side. I would disagree on that. I would say the right side of the aisle maybe has some issues because they've been infiltrated by nefarious members of the leftist community. We call those folks rhinos. But you've got folks that really have, it's an evil agenda. It's the only thing you can really call it. And just to give an example, here in Washington, D.C., there is a park called Lincoln Park. It's Emancipation.
Yes.
Thank you. Emancipation celebration. It's a park. It's the abbreviated term is Lincoln Park. And this park's been in this location since 1879, I believe it was. And it's a park that was dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. And there's a statue there of Abraham Lincoln. But when the statue was constructed or sculpted, they added the sculpture of a freed slave in conjunction with Abraham Lincoln.
Correct.
That freed slave is a depiction of a real individual. His name is Archer Alexander. And this particular monument and statue that was put in place, this in direct alignment with the Capitol Mall, which goes all the way to the Washington Monument, actually goes through the Capitol building and all the way to the Washington Monument. And when it was put in place, was attended by Frederick Douglass members of the President Grant, members of the House and the Senate, and prominent members of the community. And the statue was paid for by freed slaves.
Yes.
Freed slaves paid for this statue. Now, Muriel Bowser and those within the Democrat Party here in Washington, D.C., want to tear that statue down because they say it's racist. Simply because the depiction of the statue, if you go to see it, and you can Google it and it'll come right up, shows Lincoln standing, and they say that's Lincoln standing over an authoritative manner, domineering manner, and the poor slave is on his knees. Well, it's an incorrect depiction of actually what's taking place. What's taking place is Lincoln standing, and he's standing next to a podium that on the top of the podium is the Emancipation Proclamation that he's touching.
Right.
There's also a statue of a depiction of George Washington in the podium. So this is all symbolic.
Yes.
And then he's standing behind Archer Alexander with his hands stretched out, like covering Archer Alexander's backside, like, I got your back, brother.
Right. Like we would in church. Like if you were praying over somebody or blessing them. I don't understand how they get the depiction. This is a president that just freed the slaves. Now, why would he want to be like, treating them any more than just a freed person? I don't understand the logic.
Yeah, they want to rewrite history, and you know this, brother. That's what they're looking to do, to depict it as something it's not. And like I said, this statue was paid for by freed.
Exactly.
Paid for.
And Lonnie, look, we need to get rid of white sheets. We need to get rid of white sheets because Ku Klux Klans wore sheets. Mm-hmm. Get rid of all you white sheets. Mm-hmm. And for your Washington Redskins, we need to call them the Washington No-Skins. They just don't have any backbone anymore to stand up against this nonsense.
Well, we're certainly pushing back. We had the rally last week, Tuesday, and the press showed up in droves.
Right. I saw that.
And covered in most of the major newspapers, at least out here in the greater DC area, just to get the truth out. Because if we don't, they'll tear the statue down. And see, when you start tearing statues down that you don't agree with, what happens is they look to try to rewrite history. And if they try to rewrite history, they can carve their own version of what history that took place.
Exactly.
I say they leave all statues up, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them. Even the Confederate statues.
Yes, leave them alone.
It's the history of our nation, and we should be able to talk about these things. I should be able to take my children out and show them these statues, whether I agree with them or not, and say, hey, this one right here represents this at this particular time in history, and I don't agree with it, but this is what we've done as a nation and how we've moved forward. When we start tearing down statues, brother, we're no different than the Taliban. That's what they did.
That's right. Rolani, you nailed it. And look, I don't agree with most of the statues I don't agree with the statue of Lenin that's standing inside of the city of Seattle. It's been standing there for years. I don't agree with it. The people there seem to be okay with it. But they don't have no problem coming to my community or your community and then treating us as if we're imbeciles and we don't know what's going on. Especially in the South. I hear a lot of people tell us in the South, well, the people in the South, you people are rednecks and you're backwards. And I try to inform them the South now is some of the most modern cities, some of the most up-to-date cities in the United States that are in the South. People want to come to the South. They want to retire to the South. They want to, vacation in the South. The South of today is not the South of the Jim Crow laws. And by the way, we know who started the Jim Crow laws were the Democrats. And we need to educate people better, I believe. And that's a problem in our educational system altogether. I
agree. So we're left with, individuals like yourself and myself to put the truth out there, because it's not being taught in schools. I mean, they tore down a Frederick Douglass statue.
Right. I ran into somebody. I ran into somebody the other day, Lonnie, that didn't know who Frederick Douglass. They thought Frederick Douglass was a radical. They had been told that Frederick Douglass was a radical. And I said, how much do you know about Frederick Douglass? They knew very little. But the thing is, Lonnie, let's get right to the nitty gritty. One, while I had you on, I want people to know about what you're doing with the new show, with the new program, Cure America. Tell my audience, one, how can they get in contact with the show and what's going on?
It's very easy to catch the show. It airs once a week on Saturdays, and it's very easy to watch it in all the previous programming, because we've got six shows under our belt. We'll be taping the 7th show tomorrow. So all they have to do is go to cureamerica.news. That's Cure, C-U-R-E, America.news, and that'll bring up the website and has all the information there about the show, information about Star Parker, myself, and also Dr. William Allen, who is the COO for Star Parker's nonprofit, which has been here in D.C. She's got to be going on close to 20 years now.
Right.
And the great, if you want to hear truth,
mm-hmm.
on issues of the day that really matter, cureamerica.news is where you go. You can also go to Center for Urban Renewal and Education, which is urbancure.org, and there's a link there where you can watch the show from the nonprofit side of the organization. But I'm excited to be associated with Star. I got my start here in D.C. with her back in 2012, and connected with you not there long thereafter.
Right.
And so she's a real lion chaser, and she's been at this a while. Star's been in this line of work about 20 years or so. She doesn't look at her because she doesn't age, but she's been doing this a while. And it what it did is it motivated me to get a lot more vocal about the issues that really matter, and especially it being people of faith. You and I being Christians, and connecting our biblical worldview with our political worldview.
That's right. And speaking of Christian, somebody just posted, because we're talking about symbols and people, hijacking symbols. No greater symbol that was ever given to mankind was, of course, God's promise, the rainbow.
Yes.
And someone's just posted, Matt Delante just posted in the Facebook thread about the chapter that speaks on this in Genesis 9:11 through 17. Lonnie, as Christians, what happened? How did this happen? How did Christians somehow ignore what was actually going on when the LGBTQXYZ commandeered and hijacked the rainbow?
That's a great question. And the simple answer is that we were sitting on our hands and having church with ourselves, and we didn't think it was that bad. Think about, just give you examples. The mayor that was elected in Chicago, there was a mayor elected in, I believe it was Houston. Another mayor was elected in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give an example, and these three mayors I'm speaking of, one holds office in Chicago. Mayor Lightfoot is a lesbian woman. In Houston was a lesbian woman, and in Salt Lake City, as conservative as Salt Lake City is in the state of Utah was a lesbian woman. Well, who put them in office?
Exactly. It had the Christians. Exactly. And Lonnie, I don't want to get upset today. I'm going to try to stay calm. You know how I can get. How did the Christian community get bamboozled is the nicest word I can use right now. Is it because the Christian community, by and large, like you said, sat on the sideline, had their bags packed, waiting for Jesus to come? Or was it that they sold their souls to the government? They wanted to get in bed with the government, and many of them did.
I think it's a little of both. I think we were lulled to sleep. Christians, well, gotta love everybody, and that's not how I roll, Lonnie. But I don't have any problems with them. And look, let me just state for the record, I have much love for the homosexual community. I got relatives that roll that way. They know I love them.
Right.
I don't agree with their style, but I love them. But when your lifestyle and the agenda associated with your lifestyle begins to push back on the foundational truths that establish this nation and establish our rights as individuals, which come from God,
yes,
then I have a problem with it. And I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say something. But what's happened with the faith-based community is they don't want to get involved. The other side of that is, just as you stated, is you got a lot of Christians that are waiting to be raptured out of here.
Right.
And I hear it all well, Lonnie, we're in the end times, and so when the rapture comes, and we don't have to deal with any of this stuff. I said, for one thing, I said, I'm not saying the rapture is not coming. I said, I don't want to get into that debate. I said, but you don't know when.
Right.
You only know the season.
Yeah.
And the season could be 1,000 years.
Well, Jesus told the disciples, while it's yet day, do my work. He said, look, don't be concerned about things that you have no authority over.
Amen.
I'm going to play a video clip, Lonnie. You can hear it. I want you to listen to this. Of course, this is part of the problem, I think, but listen to this video clip, and others can actually see it. But listen to what's going on here, Lonnie.
Everyone would please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell. Duly noted. Our collective atheism, which is to say loving empathy, scientific evidence, and critical thinking, leads us to believe that we can create a better, more equal community without religious divisions. May we pray together. Mother Earth, we gather today in your redeeming and glorious presence to invoke your eternal guidance in the universe, the original creator of all things. May the efforts of this council blend the righteousness of Allah with the all-knowing wisdom of Satan. May Zeus, the great god of justice, grant us strength tonight. Jesus might forgive our shortcomings, while Buddha enlightens us through his divine affection. We praise you, Krishna, for the sanguine sacrifice that freed us all. After all, if Almighty Thor is with us, who can ever be against us? And finally, for the bounty of logic, reason, and science, we simply thank the atheists, agnostics, humanists, who now account for 1 in 5 Americans, and growing rapidly. In closing, let us, above all, love one another, not to obtain mythical rewards for ourselves now, hereafter, or based on superstitious threats of eternal damnation, but rather embrace secular-based principles of morality and do good for goodness sake. And so we
give the invocation and pray to Satan. Now, of course, some people walked out of the courtroom. It was at a council meeting. And we wonder what is going on. I tell you what's going on. The American Christian is no longer effective in the community.
I agree.
They pretend to be effective. They get out and march. They get out and rally. They do some of this stuff with Black Lives Matter, but they don't care about the unborn babies. They don't care about the murders that's happening in the cities of Chicago every weekend. They don't care about those in D.C. Lonnie, I'm throwing it back in your court, my friend.
I would just jot some things as I was listening to this. Secular
morality, Mother Earth.
Or morality comes from someplace. It comes from a belief system.
Now, yes, keep in mind this is an atheist. This is an atheist saying a prayer, which is an oxymoron by itself.
Yes.
The American. Go ahead, Lonnie.
We're just saying in California, I'm from California, and I've heard this type of foolishness at school board meetings, where they have somebody to give the invocation. And if you're a Christian pastor, and I'll use my good friend Pastor Bruce Rivers as an example, who's told me that, and he has to tell them, he says, well, if I'm going to come in here and give a prayer before either the town hall meeting or the school board meeting, I'm going to talk about Jesus. If you have a problem with that, you need to tell me now. And he says, and oftentimes he's told he can't do that. And so this is where we are today. And they do that and are able to get away with that because the faith-based community, I'm talking about Christian folk, don't raise up enough ruckus. We're not feared as a, I'll use that word, fear, or respected.
Right.
More as someone that needs to be contended with. We had moral clauses and so forth put into the very fabrics of our nation because, and just if you use the television and movie industry at one time that put in a system to rate movies because of their fear of the faith-based community pushing back and saying, we're going to boycott you guys. We're not going to see your movies if you don't establish some type of systems so we know what we're getting ready to watch and getting ready to see. There is no, and I'm searching for words here because I'm trying to keep from getting worked up myself.
We're no longer relevant in many cases.
There it is right there.
We're no longer relevant. It's like we don't care what the Christian community thinks. Exactly. We're going to do this because this person, and Mike Fitzpatrick just said in the Facebook, said that looked like a city council meeting. It was.
Yep.
We're no longer relevant, and our words don't have any power. They don't have no power. We have people out there making grand speeches in their huge facilities with their 3,000, 4,000, 8,000 members. But they have no power. They have no influence. Their salt has no savor. They have no savor. So right quick, we're going to wrap things up, Lonnie. One, I want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate you taking your time. Of course, I know that you almost were caught in a flood in your apartment, said somebody on another floor, had a problem and it created one in your place. And I want to thank you for getting up today and being a part of my program. I know you have a lot to do there in D.C. You're always busy. You're always out and about. Of course, people can find you at cureamerica.news, where they can hear the program that you're working on now. Of course, they can find you on Facebook, on Line Chasers, the Line Chasers Radio. And Lonnie Poindexter is the Line Chaser. And I really want to thank you for coming out this morning and being a part of my program, sir.
Well, thank you so much, brother. Let me mention finally that encourage your listeners to sign the petition. We've got a petition that's going out to save this statue here in Washington, D.C. It's very easy. If you go to urbancure.org, there's a link that'll take you to the page where you can sign the petition. If you can't get online or you're not online right now, you can also go to urbancure.org /freed men, FREED as in David, MEN. That'll take you directly to the page where you can see all the information about the rally that we had last week. We need 10,000 signatures to keep these chuckleheads from tearing this statue down. I appreciate your brother having me on the show. And folks, you can also catch me on Parler. I'm on Parler now, man.
Yes.
And I believe you are as well.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
still
sir.
learning it, but I'm in parlor now.
Well, I tell you what, Lonnie, we got to do everything we can, big guy. Thank you, brother, for coming on. God bless you, my fact. Of course, I want to thank, I see those in the chat room have made some comments. I know this is a very touchy subject, and we're going overtime just a little bit. I know it's a very touchy subject. I know people don't like to hear this, especially when you challenge their position. The church community has dropped the Bible. They ain't just dropped the ball, you've dropped the Bible. There is no way in a nation that claims that it is a Christian nation. I don't care what Barack Obama said. He said it's not a Christian nation, it's a Muslim nation, it's a this nation, it's a that nation. And now you heard about the atheists who say 1 in 5 people today are atheists. And it's the fastest growing. They claim they're growing very fast. I don't doubt that they are growing because many of our young people have been deceived. They have been deceived on our college campuses, in our schools, in our universities, in our institutions. They have been taught a false doctrine. Many of them had turned away. And now you see they're in the streets, they're rioting, they're destroying property. They're calling for more socialism. Next would be communism. And under communism, there is no room for Christianity. Go check your history books. They destroyed the churches. The communists took over the churches, turned them into government offices. Propaganda machines took over the church. So symbols matter. Institutions matter. America matters. Of course, I want to thank you for coming in today. I'm Alfonso Ashworth. And as always, we'll end the show with, of course, with God bless you, God bless America, and God bless our children, and peace.
You've been listening to Alfonso Ashworth, the Barry White of Podcast Radio. Go forth and share his message. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Remember, no two people can ever occupy the same place at the same time. You were uniquely and wonderfully made. Born an original. Don't die a copy. God bless. Peace.